Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Reed here. And I have my
Hi,
buddy.
Doc.
I have my buddy here. What's going on, man? How you doing? Introduce yourself real quick.
Uh, my name is Fawad, and I am the producer for Reed Matrix. And I help you and I help Dr. Reed put on this amazing content for all of you.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting show, isn't it? Very interesting. You know,
This is way too interesting than anything else that I've ever seen on these topics.
it comes from my personal experience with working with dealing with sick people. Not patients. The patients are fine, but just sick people you're around. And these people are everywhere. So this series on narcissism is a network. I'm going to try to help. My patients and other people who listen to this podcast sort of understand what they're dealing with when they're dealing with narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. And what's interesting is that this issue goes back throughout the beginning of all humanity and all mankind. And so this is a very serious issue that everyone has to deal with. And I think that this discussion we're going to have now is going to hopefully give a framework so that people can sort of understand what's happening when they run into a sick narcissist, a sick psychopath, or a sick sociopath. When I say these people are sick, I mean they are really sick. So let me first just review consciousness map just to give you an idea of the spectrum of consciousness that exists in life. And that entire spectrum is necessary. You have to have people at the bottom, right? And I just pulled this consciousness map up on Google and just went to one. And so just anyone will do. It sort of shows like a cutoff point for like suffering. Anything above this is sort of good. Anything below that is sort of excess suffering. I look at this as the line that separates yin from yang, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I think of these as two separate realities. This is one reality, and each level here is actually a different reality. And I think it's best if you socialize with your own, you know, instead of stratifying your life or categorizing your life based upon your race or your gender or your occupation. I think you should sort of consider stratifying it along consciousness levels, meaning only deal with the people on your consciousness level and pray that those above you will accept you into theirs because they have something very important to teach you. And I think you should shut your mouth and try to do your best to learn. And then maybe you can get to that higher state of consciousness and reduce the level of suffering that you're experiencing. But this is the diagram that sort of puts this into perspective. Now, the bottom is necessary because that's where we all come from. And we have to mature all the way to the top. And not all of us make it. I think it's more like a pyramid system. So as you continue to grow, as you begin to prosper, as you begin to mature and develop, there will be fewer and fewer you around. There'll be fewer friends, fewer people to talk to, and you become more isolated, not necessarily more isolated at the top, but, more isolated at the top because there's fewer you. We, on many occasions, and I don't know how many times I made this mistake, is that we feel obligated to go down there to the bottom to sort of support the people down there. And those degenerates are not appreciative of what you're doing. In fact, they don't like it. When you descend down into their world, you become condescending to them, and they don't like that. So it's best that you stay with yours. Right. So here, the bottom is necessary, and it's always been here. And so when you see a narcissist, a sick narcissist, psychopath, a sociopath, then you're actually dealing with the bottom of humanity. And they're so far at the bottom where I don't believe they have all the components to be considered a human being. They definitely avatar human-like, but I think the software program is not developed enough so they can be classified as a human being. Maybe humanoid, but not human being. And the reason I say that is because they don't have empathy, meaning everything their ego tells them they believe. And if the ego says you're guilty, well, damn, you're guilty, and there's nothing you can do about it. And they will never take no for an answer. And clapping back is all they do. So when you go down there to the bottom, it's going to be a little shaky for you. That's called duality, and it's called karma. And those things are baked into the cake down there. You can't avoid it. So when you deal with people on your lower consciousness level, be prepared to suffer. But when you understand that you need to just get away from them, when you go back and suffer, don't blame anyone but yourself. But it's hard because at first you don't understand what's going on. So let me help you understand more about narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. First, just look at the narc. Now, this is an issue that all of humanity have been dealing with, not just you, all of humanity. And we're going to go back in time by hundreds of years and see how the people during those time periods deal with these sick idiots. How do they deal with it? And so the narcissist comes up in several different forms. First, let's go back to 1922. There's a black and white movie. Yeah, I always have difficulty pronouncing this word, but it's 1922. And there's a character that's based upon a Bram Stoker novel called Dracula. Right now, this wasn't a Bram Stoker didn't create a book called Dracula. It was a collection of a lot of things that came together about this dude, right? So it's like a community writing about this dude. And here's the first black and white rendition. Look at here, just give you an idea of this clown. A symphony of horror. A symphony of horror. That's how I would describe a narcissist. A symphony of horror. Just to get through here. You may have to go to a bit of trouble, a little sweet and maybe a little blood. Sounds like a narc. Targeting somebody. Anyway, I don't want to go through here because I don't want any copyright infringements, but this is try to look at this film and everything, and then you start to see the dilemmas that the people who lived around this sick person had. This movie was then, and this is a black and white version. The movie was then remade in 1932, like 10 years later, and this is Bram Stoker. Let me get out the commercial.
Performance, durability,
I didn't know it was going to do a commercial.
Only one.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me show you this clip. Okay. Here's 1931's version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And this is a classic scene where Dracula runs into his victim's psychiatrist. Okay. And in this movie, Dracula is represented by the narc. Now, this conversation they have is every conversation the narc has about you behind your back. And this is what happens behind your back. Because remember, narcissism is a network, right? So while they're giving you one portrayal in front of you, they are actually targeting you behind your back by threatening, by harassing, by targeting anybody who would be supportive of you. So while they're simultaneously targeting you, with their gaslighting, they're also targeting people who would be supportive of you, and they're doing this behind your back. Now, this is when, this is when they this is when the people, then when you see that same person again, that same person may be hesitant with engaging with you the same way because they're going to have to deal with the retaliation from this narcissist behind your back. Uh, Now, in this 2.5 minute clip, the narc confronts her doctor, and her doctor understands she's dealing with the narc. So the doctor confronts the narc back, and watch the how intense the exchange is back and forth. And this is, you cannot imagine the intense of rage, intimidation, and threats that these people um, do to target the people who support you in the background. So they show a tremendous amount of anger, and eventually these people separate from you because they don't want to deal with the anger, and they're not likely to report this because they don't want to deal with the retaliation. So look at what the narc does behind your back, right? And this is to help you understand when that narc is in front of you, smiling at you, being ingratiating and everything, saying what you need. They are actually in the background, they're actually doing this. And so you have to look at narcissism as a network or not as an individual. So just look at this out and let me get your opinion for a second.
Now that you have learned what you have learned, it would be well for you to return to your own country.
So he said, well, now that you know I'm a narc, it's better you get up out of here.
Prefer to remain and protect those whom you would destroy. You are...
Now that's you. Well, that's me, the psychiatrist. I said, no, I will prefer to stay and protect the people you are planning to destroy, right? That's what this podcast is for. That's when I say narcissism a network. I plan to expose these sick people and how they engage behind the scenes in your life. And I plan on doing this in front of everybody. These people are sick. So the psychiatrist, Dr. Van Housen, confronts the narc and say, no, I'm not leaving. In fact, I'm staying here. And in fact, what I'm going to do is let everybody know what you narcs are doing. Time's up. Time's up. Let me check this out. Now that's me.
Plate. My blood now flows through her veins.
My blood flows to her veins. I have her under her spell. She's in my reality. She's in my reality. She has regressed to her lower self, and she appears in my reality, and I've destroyed all of her exits. I've destroyed her family's relationship with her. I destroyed her friends' relationship with her. I destroyed her capacity to work. I destroyed her reputation. There's no place else for her to go, right? And then she appears in my life as her lower self. And if she tries to leave across boundaries, now I have the ability to use my unlimited superpowers to target her. Why? Because she's in my world. And that's what he's saying to her. But look at Dr. Van Housen's reply.
She will live through the centuries to come, as I have lived. Should you escape us, Dracula, we know how to save Miss Mina's soul, if not her life. If she dies by day, but I shall see that she dies by night, and I will have Carfax Abbey torn down stone by stone, excavated a mile around. I will find your earth box and drive that stake through your heart. Come here.
He said, all be that as may, I know where you sleep, and I'm coming for you when you sleep. So you can't get to her if you had a stake. If I put a stake all the way through your heart, and if I have to build a 10-foot trench to find out where your coffin is, boy, you know I'm coming. Now, this is the boundaries you draw with the narc. Now, let me tell you this. As soon as you draw boundaries with the narc, they attack you right there. I will say they can only hold it for a minute, minute and a half. And they have to find whatever structure you in and attack you at the top of it. So whatever structure you in, they look around and then they go after your boss or your supervisor or things like that. And they go after it by using their powers to reframe what you've done in their reality. Right? So listen to Dracula's retaliation. He's going to try the mind games again. He's going to try to make Dr. Van Helsing regress from his separate world down and pull him in to his reality. But I don't think that Dr. Van Helsing is going to do that. Now, understand the power between these two, the gravitational pull that the narc has. The narc is sick, and so the energy that comes from the narc is a very dense and dark energy, and it has the particular powers and ability to lure you in. So you have a tendency to be drawn into the narcissist world by believing in what they're saying and identifying what they're saying, although all of it is designed to lure you in. That's the boundary violation there. And that magnetism is very powerful. And you're going to see Dracula put that on display. Now, it's interesting that even in 1923, when there was not one writer of the book Dracula, but a configuration of a lot of people who had been dealing with these sick people, and they mentioned the powerful psychological impact that they have to lure people in, and it's present here. Now, that's the same issue you deal with when you're in front of that sick person, that very sick person. You have and they draw you in, they draw family members in. You see people get harmed and hurt all the time by interacting and engaging with these sick people. But the same magnetism is felt there. In the next example, we're going to go back in the same next example, 2,000 years before this one and everything, and they express the same type of magnetism that these people have. So let me show you this, though, right here.
Come here.
Okay.
I will find your earth box and drive that stake through your heart.
I'm going to get you, boy.
Come here.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Don't do it, man.
Come. Here.
Don't do it, boy. Don't ever leave your reality. Let's do it back up, boy. Don't ever leave it. Woo. Don't leave it, bro. Don't do it, bro.
Your will is strong, Van Helsing.
Wow, you see that? You see that? Yeah. The first strategy of the narc, psychopath or sociopath, mainly the narc, is to draw you into their reality, outside of yours, into their reality. You shouldn't engage with these people. You should only watch. You shouldn't respond. You should only listen. You shouldn't react. You should only observe. Otherwise, when you do, you enter their world And whatever you say or whatever you can do, they can always reframe into you did this, you did that. So you never enter their world and you never give them the ammunition to target you. So no contact is the only thing that works with narcs, because that's the only way that you do not appear in their reality. And Dr. Van Housen is well skilled, trained, and to deal with these sick people. And then you see the pull it had on him. That's why, I run for these people. Run, hide. Okay, let me see here. I think I poured water. Okay, let me see if I can. Oop. Can this work for you? Oh, hold on for a second. My mouse is wet. Okay, let me try this. Okay. Okay, here. Great, now we're back, folks. Okay, let me see here. Okay, and then let me see what's happening with my chat. Okay, so let me see here. Hey, Flick and Flax. Why do narcissists always surround themselves with loyal squads? Because they're all cowards and they never do anything alone. I mean, they prepare for everything. I mean, they are the ultimate preppers. They never go into a situation without being prepared. Let's see here. Here's a Wikipedia posting about Dracula. Okay, Dracula is a 1897 Gothic horror novel by Bram Stoker. The narrative is related through letters, diary entries, and newspaper articles. There's no single protagonist, and opens up with Jonathan Harker taking a business trip to the castle in Transylvania to see a nobleman, Count Dracula, not a poor person, a nobleman, Count Dracula. Okay, so anyway, you can see how it goes back here. The first edition cover is 1897. Okay, so here, that's the first thing. So remember, when you're in front of a narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath, you're not in front of a person. You're in front of sort of like a system. Let me go back 2,000 years in the story with Jesus Christ and the devil. But apparently, the devil took Jesus on the mountain. And let me just sort of go to one of these. I just Googled the story. I'm just going to read to see if it has it's meaning the same elements. Okay, here in Matthew 4:8 and Luke, the Bible describes Satan taking Jesus to a high mountain and showing him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor right there. Okay, so remember when I was saying that the narcissist has this sort of like magnetism attached to them, because they put glitter on the outside of all of their torture devices. So every torture device that the narcissist has, he or she or they or them go through a lot of care to get the entry of it and design it so that it's sparkly, so it's interesting, so everything looks right, and you would never guess that this is something intentionally designed to harm you. And they actually go through all that effort to make it appear to be not exactly what it is. Whenever you deal with these people, it's because they've already got a team of people ready to handle you. They're not in it by themselves. They're only in it for the bag. And whatever the bag is whatever they want you from that time, whether it's your energy, whether it's your resources, whether it's your emotions, whether it's your reputation, your health, or anything. They're just there to get the resources. Here. So in this situation, Satan showed him. So look, okay, so he took him to the high mountaintop. Okay, whatever the highest mountaintop it is, and then he tried this chance to show him all the kingdoms of the world, all of them. I mean, was it at that time, before, after? Okay, and their splendor. I mean, I think that this presentation would have been very attractive to a lot of people, right? I think that's exactly when we talk about narcissism as a network and everything. We talked about the Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Diddy sort of combination. You see the presence of a very powerful network that can have people killed, in jail, shut down Congress, all the important people. You can see how this network can offer you a lot of benefits. And I think Diddy is trying to pull on some of those benefits. I think he's trying to ask for an appeal as to get out of jail or something like that. So here, the same magnetic pull. Now here, just like with Dr. Van Housen, Jesus refused, right? And then what he did, told him to leave. Yeah. Reason being is Jesus goes on to say that his kingdom is stable, so his people don't send conflicting messages. That would be helping me out, and his people are not going to help me out. So the glittery stuff on the outside of your torture device, I'm not interested in the glittery stuff. I'm not interested at all. He just turned it down. Remember the last series with Chappelle, Dave Chappelle. When they can't control you, they call you crazy. So, in my opinion, he encountered that same network in Hollywood, where I would say Diddy accepted and received the benefits from, becomes a billionaire. Dave, true talent, rejects it, is described and have to deal with the mental health issues associated with a group of people gaslighting and changing reality in the background. He doesn't know which reality is. Once he survives that, then he has no problem with confronting them and no problem with doing it in public, because he's not in their world. He's not in their network. So anyone who's in their network have to remain silent. And so that's why narcissism is a network. And so here, basically, he told Jesus to leave, meaning no contact. All right. So this narc in front of you, people have been dealing with these type of people for all of human history. And I think it's because it's baked into the equation, So I think the more you learn about these people and how they're impacting you and how to protect yourself from it, I think the better off you'll be, Let me see. Any other questions? So we are 8 minutes. So let's see here. Let me see question. Hey, Max, how you doing? What makes someone choose to serve a Dracula type figure? Remember, the Dracula, those would be the equivalent of the flying monkeys and things like that, the foot soldiers for the narcissist. And what happens is that these are sick people also. They're probably narcissists torturing people in other areas of their lives. And now they have another narcissist in contact and communication with, so they can all support each other and things like that. These people do sick stuff like that all the time. So they're probably mentally ill themselves, sick themselves. Only sick people would do stuff like this. The second part is they've likely regressed to the point where they appear in the narcissist world as a character with a role. You're my friend. You're obligated to do this. You're my mom. You're obligated to do this. You're my co-worker. You're obligated to do this. You're my I'm your supervisor. You're obligated to look at things from my perspective and then react the way I would. That's how they basically do that. So they control and manipulate the people. Now, whenever anyone tries to leave that control, the narcissist also targets them. So the narcissist is it's a environment full of fear and intimidation, and the threats are primarily coming from the narcissist, and the narcissist's ability to sort of target people is what makes these people more loyal to them. All right, guys. Now, anyone had any questions or anything like that for me? Or I think it's a very interesting subject. Okay. Hey, Muhammad, how's it going, buddy? There's hybrid kinds of vampires in Hollywood. I can imagine. The one who can walk in the day as the most of them can't. Yep. They call them daywalkers. Half human, half vampire. I would agree with that. More specifically, what they do is they basically get the person to abandon their reality and substitute it for their reality. So the people are involved in stabilizing the issues in the narcissist reality at the expense of their own. Okay, I think that's probably it for now. Okay, great. Is the squad more dangerous than the narcissists themselves? It's nuts. These people are sick. I mean, absolutely, because they work as a unit to create harm for you. So in the work environment, they're all working together in the background, smiling in your face while complaining behind your back. They're all doing all sort of sick type of things. So if they encounter you at work, then they're doing all the things behind your back in secrecy. In your friendships, they're trying to alienate you from people within your friendship groups. They're doing this in every environment you encounter narcs. Let me see here. How is Dracula a metaphor for narcissistic leadership? Remember the communication between Dr. Van Helsing and Dracula. Dracula's intent is harm, right? Narcissism doesn't necessarily mean harm. Narcissism is everybody has a narcissism, but it's not malignant. Narcissistic means you consider yourself, and you're supposed to consider yourself. But because narcissists don't have a consciousness and everything, they don't consider you as a part of their decision makings, and so it's completely theirs. So, okay, let's see here. Let me see here. Okay. Okay, great, guys. And so just remember this. Narcissism is a network. And when you're in front of that narcissist, you have to think of in terms of you're not fighting against flesh and blood. You're fighting against powers and principalities in high places, meaning this low, dense energy signature has always been around. And everyone that we admire had to deal with these same sick people. And it's best that you learn as much as possible about how to protect yourself away from these people. The first defense is awareness, and to never leave your reality, meaning if you are being targeted by a narcissist, if you are being threatened by a narcissist and things like that, the first thing that you cannot do is react or respond. Okay? Because no matter whatever whatever objects you enter into that game, they're going to turn it back and use it against you. And you only win when you decide to walk away. So I think that's it for my presentation for now. I hope it's very informative for you. If you are dealing with a narcissist or under attack by a narcissist or a group of narcissists in the background, you are already in danger, and they already have a plan for you. You need to get help right away. And it's most important that you start with healthcare providers that are completely separate from these sick people, because they will and they have already contacted people. These people are so resourceful, and I've never seen people as motivated to get an advantage on you to try to target you before you even know. The greatest kill for them is to try to target you and completely destroy you without you even knowing that anything happened at all. They never want to be identified. That's why they always are so secretive and are smiling in your face, trying to make you believe that they like you, but they're really trying to do you harm. So, if that's the case, get some help right away. I'm going to be building online resources for people who are dealing with these sick people. So hopefully I can build some online. Hopefully, once we finish our online clinic, we'll have a case management team there to sort of help you manage the issues you're dealing with, because you're going to need a team approach to deal with all of the chaos and all the issues these people have already created in the back of your life. Okay, if you're interested in inpatient services, I can do direct admits to the hospital I'm at, and if you need any care, just let me know. Otherwise, if you look interested in practicing medicine, I'll love to work with an internist, a family practice doctor, and also other psychiatrists. Again, you can always contact me directly. Again, Dr. Reed, and my pleasure. You take care, and you guys, my pleasure. Take care.